Albuquerque police get scrutiny from the Department of Justice.
Lobo Spring football is more physical than in years past.
And athletic trainers put in long hours too. I'm J.R. Oppenheim.
And I'm Taylor Malik. All this and more on UNM News.
The U.S. Department of Justice concluded an investigation that found a persistent pattern of excessive use of force by the Albuquerque Police Department. As a result, APD and the Department of Justice will negotiate a whole new training regimen and new lethal and non-lethal police procedures. Albuquerque Mayor Richard Berry said he supports the federal intervention and has appointed a two-person team to handle the negotiations for the new practices. In theory, the DOJ looked at use of force incidents that happened before the March 16th shooting of James Boyd, but the APD released a video of the killing of the mentally ill and homeless Boyd that went viral in the weeks before the DOJ issued its report and before police chief first called the shooting justified. We're going to look at a minute of video of the violent shooting showing Boyd turning away from officers and being shot with live ammunition and beanbags. It is important to note that the shotguns with the yellow markings fired beanbag shot, a type of non-lethal shot designed to temporarily stun a person, not cause serious injury.
Do it. Get on the ground! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Don't make noise! Put up! Moving up! Get your hands up! Still got the knives in his hand? Still got the knives in his hand. Still got his knives in his hand.
Step it up behind you. You moving?
His hands still armed.
Yep.
Get your hands out.
Get
drop
your hands
the knife.
Beam back. Right behind you.
Put your hands out to your side and drop the knife. Hands out to your side.
Beam bag. Beam bag.
Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Still got the knife in his hand.
Negative effect.
Goes on guard on him. I can get him on him.
That video sparked outrage and demonstrations over APD's history of fatal shootings, particularly involving mentally ill and homeless people.
Other Albuquerque city departments are forming alliances of different sort, including its solid waste management department. In 2011, the department signed a 12-year agreement with Friedman Recycling that will expand the current curbside recycling program. Mark Acosta reports.
Over the past few months, blue recycling bins like this have been distributed throughout Albuquerque for use alongside regular trash bins. It's part of the city's new recycling program run by Friedman Recycling. The company also runs recycling centers in Phoenix, Tucson, and El Paso, and now adds Albuquerque to its list of city contracts. Source Representative Mike Smith helps run operations at the Albuquerque plant.
So everything comes to us as a single stream, what we call it, or commingled. And so from there, all the equipment generally goes through a series of either negative or positive separation. And what we'll do then is with each material just separate it out as it goes along and through the process. So what you would see along the way is the vanishing or the exit of materials as it goes throughout the whole process.
The company also does commercial recycling for businesses that have recyclable materials in bulk, as well as providing secure data and document destruction. Commercial recycling is Mike Smith's primary role at the company.
What I do is go out to the businesses. I'll set up different programs for them because every company is going to be set up a little bit differently. What I try and do is go in there and try and establish the best means of keeping costs low and revenue potential of their materials high.
Data destruction for businesses hasn't started quite yet in Albuquerque because the recycling program is continuing to be fully rolled out, but it's one of the only aspects of the plant's operation that still has to be set up. This is Mark Acosta reporting.
Athletes and coaches tend to receive the glory in sports. Usually athletic trainers are taken for granted and are neither noticed nor praised for the long hours and rigorous training they put in to make the programs run. Liam Carey Eves reports on the dedication and passion that it takes athletic training requires.
A lot goes on behind the scenes of every sporting event. Generally, personal and athletic trainers don't receive the credit that they deserve before, during, and after events. Level 3 athletic training student Kyun Lynch says that the hard work he dedicates to the field is not for applause or admiration, but for allegiance to his field.
You know, I'm not one for accolades, so for me it's really just the positivity and the praise I get is from just seeing an athlete be able to go out there again after hurting themselves. Every single event I've worked has changed my life as a fan. I mean, you root for these teams, but you also root for the individuals because you know a lot of their stories.
Love of the game isn't the only requirement for athletic trainers. Level 4 athletic training student Kristen McCauley takes advantage of UNM's rigorous requirements. The accredited program allows students to get hands-on experience at the very beginning of their education.
The moment that we start as a freshman, we're able to go to clinical sites and work with these athletes, to work with these Division I athletes. We really are thrown into the fire right away, working with these athletes and getting the experience.
Former UNM graduate Felipe Mars says that the early onset of involvement and practice was a jumpstart to where he is today. Athletes overcome injury in his physical therapy and rehabilitation clinic. Mars says respect for the athletic training field is growing, but devotion is why individuals join the field, not for the glamour.
Exposure is much greater than it was when I was in school, so you'd better perform very, very well because there's a lot of people watching you. Ultimately, we're never going to be the most noted, recognized people, which is just fine.
Mars, Lynch, and McCauley were all part of an open house that raised awareness for athletic trainers. All three told students to take advantage of the classroom and hands-on experience instead of dreading the amount of work that is required. This is Liam Carey Eves reporting.
UNM football began spring practices in March to prepare for the 2014 season. But this season there's a new twist, the sound of pads thumping. Thomas Romero-Salas reports that thanks to the team's added depth, Lobos are now able to run more full contact drills.
The past 2 years under head coach Bob Davie, the Lobos haven't been able to work on contact drills during spring ball due to the lack of depth and fear of injuries. Davie said the team is now able to work on more of its problems than it has been able to in the past.
We did a lot of live tackling out here. To put it in context, we probably did more live tackling out here today than we did maybe in our first 2 springs combined. If you take all 15 practices of year 1 and year 2, we probably tackled more out here today in one day than we did. And, you know, for us, that's what we have to do.
UNM starting quarterback Cole Gauchi said the team is beginning to come together.
Offense is really looking good now that we have pads on and everything, and starting really quick, and team chemistry is coming together and everything's meshing pretty well.
UNM still has 3 more weeks of spring practice to rack any more games before the start of fall practice. This is Thomas Romero-Salas reporting.
Only 2 months. That's how much time's left before the beginning of the World Cup, the biggest soccer event of the year in Brazil, and maybe here too. According to research from the World Tourism Organization, the U.S. is the country that sent the most soccer fans to the last 2 World Cups. So how popular is soccer in the country and in the state of New Mexico? Our own Brazilian correspondent, exchange student Luis Felipe Gomez, has the details.
22 players, a ball, and 1 target. Make goals. Are all these sufficient to attract a lot of Americans? UNM soccer instructor Min-Hyun Kim has seen interest in the sport grown in recent years.
Obviously, it's not really, popular as much as like basketball, baseball in America, but I think it's getting really popular in American society because medias and broadcasts really focusing on the soccer game. Especially 5 years ago, I've never seen any soccer games on TV, especially main time. If American people more pay attention to the soccer game, it's gonna be more interesting and then getting more popular.
Kim also said that these years, US players are good and teams are competitive, and that makes people more excited to watch.
Last Olympic, US women's soccer team, I think they got a gold medal. after that, American people start to, focus on the soccer game. Also, World Cup is kind of unique events that's happens every 4 years. Great players are dying to play there. So the quality of the World Cup game is just great. This is just such a great game. So American people want to see it.
Like the fans, the players are getting more interest in improving. Coach of an Albuquerque Soccer League team, Daniel Cabral, says the United States have built its teams around with strength and size.
Soccer from the United States is very similar to the German soccer. They're very, physical. If you see the athletes here, they're tall, strong compared to South Americans, which are smaller. So I think they're very close to the European style of playing.
But Keane still thinks that the US has a way to go before it becomes a big-time soccer country.
Professional soccer team, they need more kind of avenue. More kind of investment. New Mexico, we don't have any, professional soccer team, Division 2, Division 3, something like that. So, UNM's men's soccer team is probably only one team that, pay attention to it. Also, players, very important. So they can, scout the most popular kind of players. If the American soccer organization can bring popular soccer players, they can do it. Yeah, it's gonna be really popular, and then people are gonna love it.
With some good runs in the World Cup and more investment in soccer in the schools, the popularity of this international sport is likely to grow locally too. This is Luis Felipe Gomez reporting.
And how will things go in Brazil this summer? And what are the local prospects for the sport? Reporter Thomas Romero Salas joins us to provide some insights. Welcome, Thomas.
Thanks, Taylor.
So, are you excited about watching the World Cup this year?
Definitely. I love watching the World Cup. It's the top soccer you can watch in the world. Having all the countries go after each other for probably the most prized trophy in sports.
And what teams are you looking forward to watching the most?
Definitely the home team, Team USA. They've improved mightily since they've changed coaches. And Spain, they're probably the best team there is in the world right now. They won the World Cup the last time out, so I'm definitely looking forward to watching both teams.
And how do you think New Mexico holds up as a state as far as soccer goes?
As far as soccer, I feel New Mexico's doing pretty well in that category. The men's team, they're really successful. Last season they made it to their second Final Four in program history. That's just a huge deal. And Coach Fishbein, he does a great job interacting with the community. Because he has to, and he also likes doing it. He has to raise a lot of money for his program to function, and it's just awesome.
Well, thank you for joining us, Thomas. So, JR, will you be watching the World Cup this year?
Yeah, I'll be watching some of it. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's all for today's show. Thanks for watching.